Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Pi. For those that don't know, I am going to be reviewing Love is Blind, Season 6, Episode 11. Now, before I get into it, if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that notification bell. That way, every time I drop a video, you will be notified. So, if you watch Episode 10, you saw that halfway through my video, my mic went out. When I tell you I was so mad, I was so mad when I was editing last night. I was like, this is crazy. So I'm just going to touch up a little bit on the parts that were cut off. So next we see the camera pan over to Jimmy and Chelsea. Well, actually it's Jimmy. He's in the living room and he's chilling. Chelsea walks in. She's moping around and he's like, "Hey, how are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I was at the home. I was at my apartment, just chilling." And I'm like crying, probably over there soaking. And he just tells her, "Listen, I went on a walk yesterday. I was able to clear my mind, think things through." And I just come to the realization that if you feel like that I don't love you when I'm telling you that I love you, that's a problem. And I don't want to be married. And I've come to the conclusion I don't want to be married anymore. And Chelsea has the temerity to say, "So you're just going to throw in the towel?" Ma'am, he should have threw the towel in a long time ago. Like argument number 1 or 2. The arguments that you all have are just crazy. So the fact that Jimmy is still here, that says a lot. He has taken a lot. So she, some kind of way, convinces him, to give it a try, another try, and just stick it out. And he's like, "Yeah, I came in here for a wife, and I love you." And now he wants to get married again. So now we see the couples meet up at the lake house. Everyone is there, minus Clay. Clay is at work, and so he's going to come a little later. And Laura is also there, but Jeremy isn't there, right? So the ladies are sitting down, like kind of closer by the lake, and they're talking. And AD has this scrunchie, and she's like, "This scrunchie signifies." She's like, "If you have this scrunchie in your hand, you can talk." And so, we got to catch up. And it was so funny because Amy was like, "Yeah, I need the tea on Jeremy." And I was like, "Oh, wait, Amy, when you start getting into the mix, I like to see this." Because Amy never says anything. She always like goes off with Jeremy, or when the girls are getting into it and asking like specific questions, she like doesn't say anything, which now I feel like we know the reason why she wasn't saying anything at the first meetup is because her and Jeremy aren't having sex because of the whole birth control issue, right? Well, not issue, but the situation. So anyway, so Laura grabs the scrunchie, and Laura was like telling them about what happened with Jeremy the night before. But before she got into it, Amy was like, "Well, all I know is what Johnny told me." And before Laura could get into it, here comes Jeremy come around the corner with his Hawaiian shirt on. I said, "Ooh, child." He wore that shirt on purpose. He knew that would piss Laura off. So she's just like, "Oh, God, here he comes." And so he sits down with the guys and he's talking to them about what happened the other night. And he's saying how he's been trying to be apologetic to Laura. He sent her some text messages asking for her address so he could send her some flowers. And she was like, "No, you're not getting my address." And she made a comment and said, "It's so funny how you just went from fiance in my phone to Jeremy." And for some reason that like seriously offended him. And he's like, "Why would I fight for somebody like that? Like, why would I fight when somebody's saying those mean, nasty things?" Now we do know that Laura does have a tongue on her. So there's no telling what was in those text messages. But if he was referring to that, that wasn't that serious, in my opinion. Y'all let me know what you think, but I don't think that was that serious. But we do know that Laura can, she does come with it. So who knows, right? So before the guys could even delve into it, Trevor comes around the corner. And when I tell you, Jimmy has never been more happier. He was like, "Thank you, sweet baby Jesus." Trevor comes around the corner. The girls are like, "Oh my God, is that Trevor? Is that Trevor?" Chelsea was like, "Where?" And turned her head so fast. And so Jimmy was like, "Thank you, Lord. I am not." He was like, I think he told Johnny, "I don't want to be anywhere near that conversation about Jeremy and Laura." He was happy that Trevor came through and got him off the hook. So shortly after Trevor shows up, Jess and Mackenzie show up, and everybody's like, "Oh Lord." So Jess and Jimmy decide that they need to talk. You know, first of all, he gives her a hug or whatever, and then they decide that they need to have a talk. And they go down further by the lake and they sit and they, have just like a normal conversation about how things are going with him and Chelsea. And she met his parents and she's like, "Oh, so how did that go?" And he's like, "Yeah, it went pretty good." And she was like, "Okay, well, that was like one of the biggest things that you were worried about when you're in the pods." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's like, how can something I feel like so big go so well, but other things not so much?" And so Jessica's like, "Oh, so basically y'all are having like some issues." And she's just like, "I want you to just, be good to Chelsea, do right by her. Um, and I'm happy for y'all." And so he was just saying that he has never like dealt with anybody remotely close to Chelsea, to Jessica's personality. And she had mentioned, when he read her letter out loud, that he was like so quiet, and she was like, "I didn't know how to react, like anybody would react away to that when I'm pouring my heart out to you in this letter and you don't say anything, like what do you think is going through my mind or whatever." And so he was like, "Yeah, it wasn't even like that, like I was just trying to process everything." And so she says, "Well, you never really did even tell me how how you feel about me. You never really said it." And he was like, "I think you're like one of the smartest people I've ever met. I think you're great, even though you still scare me." He was like, "You still scare me." She was like, don't feel like that." And I was very happy that Jess was not giving off that "I want you" type feel. She did say that it still stings. She was like, "I want us to be okay to be around each other. I want us to be able to coexist." And she said that, it does still sting a bit, this is still fresh, but she wasn't coming for him and like just blatantly like flirting with him. And I'm so happy because when her and Laura met up, I was like, "Oh Lord, she about to cause some drama." I'm pretty sure everybody thought that. Did y'all think that? I thought she was about to cause some drama. So I was kind of happy to see that she, took the high road. So kudos to you, Jessica. But I will say this: Jimmy and Jessica actually look cute together. They make a nice couple. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that Jimmy was thinking, "I should have chose Jessica"? Because he always talks about how, Jessica has this strong personality. He's not used to it. But look at what he's dealing with Chelsea. That was the curveball he never saw coming. So I wonder if he's thinking in the back of his mind, "I should have went with Jessica," because he did say that Jessica was his number one, which I'm going to touch on that a little bit more when we get into this next episode. So boom, episode 11. So we see everybody, they're still at the lake house and they're all sitting out chit-chatting, and in some kind of way, our guy Matthew comes up. Matt. Is it Matt or Matthew? Whatever it is. Clark Kent. And that's what they say. They was like, Matt and Clady like are like the total opposite, but they are both like good looking guys. And they're like, "Yeah, Matt's like the good." It's the men for me. Matt is like the best looking guy in the house. I'm like, wait, what? Matt is the best looking guy. Well, not in the house, but in the pods or whatever. And they say, "Yeah, Matt looks like Clark Kent." And AD is like, "What are y'all talking about? Y'all still talking about Matt? What are y'all talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah." And she was like, "What? He looks like who?" And they was like, "He looks like Clark Kent." And she was like, "Does he?" Y'all get Matt on the phone. Please, somebody, anybody, get him on the line. That's what AD was looking like. She was like, "I think I need to see him. Is he going to be at the reunion?" Immediately, we see Alejandra and Sarah Ann arrive. So AD meets Alejandra. She's happy to see her. She gives her a hug. Sarah Ann walks in. She greets everyone, including Laura. There are no words exchanged, nothing. And then Trevor says to Chelsea, hey, let's have a talk. So they sit down, they start talking. Of course, they go back to their date in the pods and how everything was in the pods. So, of course, Trevor asks her again the same question. If I had asked you before Jimmy asked you for your hand in marriage, do you think you would have said yes? And Chelsea like waits a couple of minutes, but she's like, no. And he's like, well, I mean, you have to say that. That's like the good answer to say. And, she's just saying like how great he was, and she always got everything that she needed from him, and he was her number one. And remind you, I was just talking about Jimmy's telling Jess that she was his number one. How in the world did y'all both pick y'all number twos? I'm still confused on that because they both said that the other person was their number one. So what was it? Well, we kind of know what it was for Jimmy, but what was it for Chelsea to pick Jimmy over Trevor if he was her number one and he gave her everything that she needed? I feel like she probably just didn't want Jessica to win. That's what I think. She didn't want Jessica to win. She saw that Jimmy was finally into her, and she's like, no, I am going to get this man over her. I think that's what it is. Y'all let me know what you think. But I definitely think that's what it is because it doesn't make any sense. If he was your number one and he was giving you everything that you needed, why didn't you pick him, sis? And so Trevor's just like super understanding. Baby, when I tell you, Trevor is the best actor. Trevor is amazing at acting. Because as we know, spoiler alert, if you don't know the tea on the street, you might want to click off the video, but come back in about 2 minutes. So Trevor, should I say allegedly, or is this not alleged? Because the girl has released the text messages that Trevor was actually in a whole relationship. So the fact that Trevor is like just so appalled and just so like, oh my God, I wish you would have picked me, and you not even really here for a real reason. He is like a really good actor. Like Trevor is good. Trevor is good. And then he says, well, I'm not an arguer and I just can't see, even if we did have like a disagreement, you just yelling at me. And I'm thinking, you see, Chelsea in the pods. You don't know Chelsea in the outside world after she get a couple of drinks in her. Those are two different Chelseas. You better be lucky that you don't know Chelsea outside of the pods. Chelsea goes on to say that, it's been hard not to think about him because of, the connection that we have. And again, I'm just like, it doesn't really make sense that she picked Jimmy, but I digress. So he decides to tell her that, to show her, I still got my watch on. And she's like, oh my God, you do? I still have mine. And she was like, should I start, pressing it? And they're just flirting. It's like, I guess you can say harmless flirting. I don't want my man flirting with nobody, period. But they're doing a little flirting. I do have to say they are flirting a tad bit. And I'm immediately thinking in my mind now, if Jimmy was flirting with somebody, Chelsea would be going crazy. So the fact that she's sitting here flirting with Trevor is just like, okay, girl. So Jimmy walks over, he gives her a kiss and just checks on her or whatever. And Trevor's like, you didn't give me a kiss. And then he gives Trevor a kiss and just all playful. He says he has love for for Jimmy. He's glad that, if she got with anybody, it was Jimmy because he feels like Jimmy is a good guy. So Chelsea says, here comes our strongest couple. And she's talking about Johnny and Amy. And babe, when I tell you, Jimmy did not like that one bit. He was like, how are you going to say that? They're not the strongest couple. They're not the strongest couple. And she's like, babe, but they are. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, we're like right up there, right behind them. We're right with them. And he wasn't going crazy, but he was not here for that. And I'm like, Jimmy, it's giving Chelsea tease. You're a little delusional. Who do you think is the strongest couple? Because I know you don't think it's you and Chelsea. I know you don't think it's you and Chelsea. I don't even know if y'all are number two. Would y'all put Jimmy and Chelsea before Clay and AD? Hmm. That's a great question. But they're definitely not number one, Jimmy. Chelsea, is like, no, babe. I mean, I was just saying, like, I was just being playful or whatever. And I'm thinking in my mind, Chelsea has not learned her lesson with shouting stuff out loudly. She hasn't learned. Girl, close your mouth sometimes. Zip it. See Jeremy and Laura, and they're speaking for the first time in a few days. And he's, just checking in on her and asking her how she is. And of course, he has to revisit the messages that he sent to her. And he was just like, he feels like, it's kind of rude when you message me. I'm trying to check on you and I'm trying to send you flowers. I'm asking you for your address. And you're saying, well, it's just so funny how you went from fiance to Jeremy. And he was like, that's just some BS. Like, why would I want to fight for anybody who's talking to me like that, who's treating me like that? And she's like, yeah. He was like, I owned up to all my stuff. She's like, yeah, 3 freaking days later. Like, you want me to meet you with hugs and kisses after the bullshit that you pulled? Like, are you kidding me right now? And she said, no, I responded politely and said, no, thank you. He was like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Now, we do know that Laura got a mouth on her, like I said. Laura definitely has a mouth on her, so she probably didn't say no thank you. But when he told her that she did not say no thank you, and she was like, pull them up. Pull up those messages right now, because I am so sick and tired of you of flipping this shit on me, baby. Laura went off. She was not here for it. And she said, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and come by and pack my stuff and take it with me. Like, I am done. And he was like, oh, baby, you ain't got to come pack nothing, because all your stuff is to the left, to the left. Everything you own in a box to the left, baby. But Jeremy had already packed up her stuff. He was like, your stuff already packed up. It's at the door. It's sitting at the door. It's waiting for you, baby. Just come by and grab it. I was like, now that is so rude. Don't put your hands on my stuff and pack up my stuff. You might not pack my stuff up the way that I wanted to be packed, right? And you just packed it up and just threw it in the box any old kind of way. Like, no, that is rude. Let me get my things, please, and thank you. And I'll be on my merry way. And when she hears that Jeremy packed her stuff up, she went another notch up. She started telling him how ingenuous he is and how he was, did she say a fraud or con artist? I think she said a con artist. And when she said that, I was just waiting on her to give us the tea that's out about Jeremy. Spoiler alert number 2. If you don't know the tea about Jeremy, you might want to exit the video right now. But make sure you come back in about 2 minutes. So Jeremy allegedly had a whole girlfriend before. The girlfriend claimed that he applied for the show while they was in a relationship. He came and cleared his name and said he actually was not in a relationship. He actually had just got out of a relationship like a couple of weeks, a couple of months. A couple of months prior to somebody vetting him. So he didn't look to go on Love is Blind, but a recruiter vetted him for the show. So when she said con artist, I was like, is she about to spill the tea on the show? I literally thought she was about to spill the tea on the show. Because another thing is, he said that they knew about it. He was like, it was no secret. Everyone knew about it. So that's probably why she said a con artist, but she probably just didn't want to get into the details of it. But yeah, Laura was mad. She was like, kick rocks with open-toe shoes on, and basically, you were never, she said, you are not a man. You never were the man for me. She hit him with the Toni Braxton. You wasn't man enough for me. What are you thinking? Did you know about us back then? Did you know I dumped your husband? Girlfriend, I'm not thinking about him. She was like, you're not man enough for me. You are not man enough for me. Laura was pissed and she walked off. The camera pans over to AD and Sarah Ann. And can we just pause for 1 second? Y'all know I love AD, right? AD looked amazing in this green little 2-piece little bikini top situation she had going on. It was so cute and it looked amazing on her skin. I loved it. Super cute. So AD is just basically like asking Sarah, baby, let's just talk about this text message because I'm confusion. Why did you text this man knowing this man was in a whole relationship? Explain it to me, sis. So Sarah claims that Jeremy left the door open. AD like left it open how? Explain to me how. Like I need details. Give me the details. And she's like, basically like just like the way that he broke up in the pods with me. Like I know this man. Like we have a relationship. It's different from anybody else's relationship, right? AD's like, yeah. She's like, so I know him. I know like how he moves. Girl, from 2 weeks. Well, they was in the pod for 2 weeks, right? 10 days or 14 days, whatever it was. So you know him from 2 weeks to tell us that you know how he moved. Okay. So she was like, when he broke up with me in the past, I didn't press the issue. And that's what I should have done. Like basically I'm kicking myself in the butt because I didn't press the issue. So because I didn't press the issue, and when I got home, I started thinking about everything. I'm like, you know what? I need to go ahead and reach out. No, you don't. Because first of all, he didn't choose you. And second of all, this man is engaged to a whole nother woman. And they just came back from a whole like honeymoon. So there's nothing to say. What do you need to talk about? And so then she goes into the whole, I was out drinking, and then he just magically appeared, and then we started talking, and one thing led to another. And AD said something about Laura having his location. She was like, yeah, he took me home. Like I was too tipsy to go home, to drive home. And AD was like, so how did the night end? When I tell you, Sarah Ann had at least a 45-second pause. She had to think. She was like, um, yeah, so, he took me home and I went in and we didn't talk because I had told him, you need to get that situation handled before we go further anyway. So AD's like, okay, I'm still trying to understand. So when you got back, you thought it was over between the two of them because, Sarah Ann said that Jeremy told her that he was breaking off things with Laura. And she was like, when I got back, she's like, had to replay it in her mind. When I got back, did I think that things were over? No, I didn't. No, I didn't think things that they were broke up. So Eddie was like, so you was willingly inboxing another woman's man. Fiance. This man is fiance. And Sarah Ann's like, listen, if a man decides to step out on his woman, that is not my fault. It has nothing to do with me. And I'm like, when it happens to you, I'm pretty sure you're going to feel a little bit different. Because what is the old saying? You lose them, how you get them. So Jeremy basically sees that Sarah Ann's like a little upset and they walk off to talk. And when I tell you she's just blowing off all the steam, I am just over this. I'm sick of these girls and they're treating me any kind of way. This is some BS. They're treating me like I'm shit. And this is not right. Like I have to deal with all these girls. I didn't do anything wrong. I was in this experience just like everybody else was. I have a right to my feelings and they were real true feelings. There was nothing wrong with me sending that text message. Do you think it was something wrong? And he's like, no, I don't. What? Of course he's going to say no. Why would he say anything else? Is it me or was it wrong? I literally think that it was wrong. And I don't care if you begin the message and you dress it up as thank you for the experience and you're a great person, blah, 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 blah. You could tell him thank you for the experience and he's a great person when you see him in person at the reunion. Well, you probably won't go to the reunion. Or you might, because sometimes they do bring, people that are messy to the reunion. But it's neither here nor there. The text message or the inbox should have never happened. Period. So, do you all agree that it's okay for Sarah Ann to message him or no? Let me know down in the comments. The worst part about it is while she's going off with Jeremy, she's saying that, like, I'm not sorry. Like, I am not sorry at all. I deserve to, share my feelings and basically explore what I didn't in the pods. I have every right to do that. And Jeremy is like, yeah, he's just agreeing with everything she's saying. I'm like, Jeremy, you are a piece of ish. And so she's like, well, what do we do now? And he's like, want to ride some jet skis? And she's like, yeah. They go and get on jet skis, and they're just having the best time ever while Laura is sitting right there. I'm like, this is so freaking rude and disgusting. Like, oh God, that would have had me so angry. I've been so mad. And then we finally see Laura in a confessional, and she's breaking down. And you know, this had to be a lot because Laura is like one of those tough people. She's built up this wall. I ain't gonna say tough people, but she's built up this wall because she's probably been through so much and disappointed and hurt and let down. And she has built up this wall, and that's why she comes off as, you know, this tough person and, you know, kind of cold sometimes, if you will. But she broke down in this moment. She's just like, this is just like some BS. He never closed the door with her. He should have just picked her from the beginning and left me out of it. He was not ready to be in a relationship with me, to protect my heart, to love me, to be there for me, to only want me and to marry me. Like, he is full of ish, and it hurts. I felt bad for Laura in that moment. I was like, oh, although Laura has done some things, and I'm just like, oh, girl, the bean dip thing with AD, and when she went to Jess in the pods and was like, that's not your man. You need to leave. You need to leave. That's not your man. Just trust me. That's not. I'm like, girl. So Laura has done some things, but I did feel really, really bad for her because nobody deserves to go through that. That was so just hurtful. So now we see Jimmy and Chelsea, and they're carving out a ice sculpture, which is something that I love to see. If you're a big Carnival cruiser, they do this on pretty much every cruise. They always carve it, and you can like guess what it is or whatever. So I can't really put my finger on what they carved. Was it a ring? Because I thought he said something with a P, but it didn't look like a P. It like a ring. I don't know. Y'all tell me because I don't know what it was. But they did a really, really good job with it, whatever it was. And it was also good to see Jimmy and Chelsea on screen for like one of the first times have an enjoyable moment. Like, that was nice and a first. The camera pans over to Clay and AD, and I'm glad that they're finally getting the quality time that AD wants and deserves. And they are going to paint some shoes, which I thought was a pretty cool date. Like, I was like, okay, I would love to do that. I didn't know that you could like actually just do that. I know people, you can pay people to do stuff like that, but I didn't know that that was like an event type situation. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I love the color that AD picked. Blue is my favorite color, and it was that specific blue that I love. I loved AD's shoes. Clay's not so much, but I wish we could have seen the finished product. Like, I was just waiting, but we never saw it. So Johnny and Amy are back at the house, and she's picking out, you know, important pictures of her family, and some kind of way they bring up this birth control topic again. And Johnny is like, you know, I know there's like a couple options for men, and one of them was vasectomy, and I said that I was, you know, down for it, but researching it a little bit more, I have discovered that it's not, you know, so easy breezy as I thought. So he goes into describing how a vasectomy procedure goes, and I'm like, welcome. You finally caught up with the rest of us, Johnny. A vasectomy is not just like a one time, a 1, 2, 3 easy breezy situation. Like, sometimes it's not even reversible. Well, I won't say it's not reversible, but it's not 100% once you get it clipped, that once they put them back together, that you will conceive. Well, you'll be able to impregnate someone. Same thing with the tubal ligation. Once it's cut and they put it back together, it's not 100%. So where you been, Johnny? And this is the other thing. They never bring up the word condoms. Why do they never bring up the word condoms? Is it like against someone's religion? Or are they bringing it up and Netflix is just cutting it out to make it seem so dramatic? But it's just mind-boggling to me that they never bring up the word condoms. So it's finally time for the girls to go pick out their dresses and the guys to get their tuxedos. And I feel like the tuxedos is just like nobody cares. Like nobody cares. They go, the guys go. It's not like as exciting it is for women to get their dresses. You know how we are. We just are so elated and emotional, and we have our mothers there and our best friends and sisters and cousins and everybody else. And so AD's dress, not the first one, because when she came out with the first one, I was like, oh my God, it's so nice. I'm like, I don't like the first one. Is it me? I wasn't here for the first one. But the second one, when she came out with the second one, I was like, now that's AD. I'm like, yes, this dress, I love this dress. But my question to y'all is, on the train of the second dress, it says the words, till death do us part. How do y'all feel about that? Did y'all like that? I think I need to see it on a picture, because just seeing it, like her spreading it out on the ground, it was giving tacky, but I don't know how it would be photographed or like seen in person. So I'm like 50-50 with that. What do y'all think? But I love the second dress. I did not like either one of the Chelsea or Amy's dresses. It was given auntie, it was given grandma. These women are young. I don't know what was going on with those dresses, but they weren't horrible. But I just wasn't just like, oh my God, I love them. Like, no. I really loved Bliss's dress from last season because she had the little thing hanging on her shoulders. I think like Chelsea and Amy both had that on theirs. I loved her dress from last season. That's the dress they should have tried on. That dress was beautiful. But their dresses I wasn't too much of a fan of. So next we see Clay and AD, and they're going on a date, and he has some beautiful roses for her. And I'm thinking, yes, finally, Clay, finally, like it took you long enough. This is how you're supposed to be treating your woman. They go on a date to on a rooftop, which I absolutely love rooftop dates, lunches. I just love to eat outside. Just the whole ambiance is just lovely. And Clay, of course, he goes into talking about how, you know, he can see the future, their future together and kids. And she was like, yeah, I think, did she say she wanted to have two? I can't remember, but I just remember him saying that he's going to be a great father. And I was like, okay. He was like, yeah, I feel like, you know, I've gotten so much better with you through this process. And AD is like, yes, you keep kicking it with me. I'm going to take you to the moon. I'm like, oh my God, AD. Do y'all notice how it's always Clay saying how AD has like elevated him and made him better, and she always gasses him up, but it's never the opposite? Do y'all notice that? But I will say I do like the growth that has come with this couple, and I could definitely see them actually being together. I love the way they converse about feelings and everything. Like it's never like really an argument. It's always like a real mature conversation. I really like and appreciate that from these two. So we get Amy and Johnny, and they're sitting by the fireside. And of course, you know, there's not much to say about them. They're just talking about how much they um, cannot wait to see how their lives are going to be together in the future. And they're getting married in a couple of days. And not much. I love the little camp. It looked like they were at like a campsite or something because there was like a tent in the background. That whole little get up, yeah. I was like, where is this? I like that. So I don't know if that was a place in Charlotte somewhere, but or maybe their backyard. I don't know, but I love the ambiance of that. That was really really nice. It was a nice vibe. So the episode ends with Chelsea and Jimmy, of course, but again we get to see Chelsea and Jimmy in a really good light. They're going to Carowinds, which I've never heard of. Obviously, it's an amusement park, and they have the whole park to themselves. I was jealous because I love riding rides. I love amusement parks. Busch Gardens in Tampa, Florida is like my all-time favorite because you have the animals and you have the big roller coasters. So that's my favorite. So I was like, this is a really good date. Like I would love to go to Carowinds, wherever that is. Like I said, I love amusement parks. So they had the whole park to themselves. They're getting on the rides. They're playing games. And then they sit down to have dinner. And Jimmy, they're just, again, talking about how the experience has been and how they've had the ups and the downs, and how he loves her and he's ready to, say I do. But he says, but I don't think I know, where you're at. Are you able to give um, a yes or a no on where you are or what you might say at the altar? And why they gonna try to tease us like Chelsea is gonna say like no or something? They leave us with a cliffhanger. So that was the episode, y'all. I think that was a pretty good episode. I liked it. It was an easy flow. Yeah, it was an easy flow. So let's talk predictions. Based off this episode, everybody is on such, you know, good terms right now. But Chelsea did say next week we are going to have the bachelor and the bachelorette parties. So, that always can change things. It did with Natalie and Shane. Remember what happened with Natalie and Shane? Shane went bananas the night before the wedding, and that's why Natalie said, I do not. And I think in my last video, I had mentioned something about them saying I do or I do not. And I was like, I can't remember who that was with Raven that said I do not. And it was SK. Remember his mother was like, when they were asking him if he was going to, take her hand in marriage. And his mother was like, say I do. I do. And he was like, I do not. And his mom was just like, oh, her heart broke. But anyways, yeah, so that could definitely change people's opinions. But if I would have to go based on what we've seen so far and where the couples are at in this exact episode, of course I'm going to say yes for Amy and Johnny. Again, if they don't get married, I will be shocked, right? For Clay and AD, I want to say they're going to say yes, but I feel like if anybody says I do not, it's going to be Clay. But I feel like they're going to say yes. And then for Jimmy and Chelsea, I feel like they're going to say yes. So y'all let me know what y'all think. And before you get out of here, don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, leave a comment down below, share the video. And also, if you haven't watched my other episodes, go back and watch the other episodes. Go back to the beginning. This is episode 11, so you got 10 to watch. So go back and watch them and like them and comment and all that good stuff on them. But until next time, see y'all. Bye.